I'm Pat.
Hey, I'm Jeffrey.
Jeffrey's been busy.
I'm really busy. Dude, scripting for Russians is hard.
Is it because of the language?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know that much about Russian, but I do know that, like English, there's a very specific word for every meaning. So
I've seen their conjugation. It's terrible. It's
and I understand it's not like German where you take like 5 words and string them together, and make a new word out of like parts of other ones.
You know what? That could be part of it. If there is, I haven't seen it. But I mean, I just saw the. So I mean, if you go to English, I would argue that English is probably the easiest version to conjugate verbs, and possibly. Well, would you say that the Latin languages are pretty?
Yeah, they're all pretty much the same. English is kind of a bastard of that in German. So
It is, but I mean, it all comes with it. All right, so if you have these verbs, right, there's really only 3 time periods, and essentially 2 variations of that.
yeah, yeah.
Right. So if you take the standard like boot verb, right?
Boot verb.
Yeah. O asa amos ison. The
Oh, Spanish.
Spanish. Well, that's all.
I thought you
Latin.
said standard. I didn't say. I didn't.
Oh yeah. The
Spanish.
standard boot verb,
Right.
Because that works in.
Yeah.
Because that's Italian. That's French. That's.
Spanish, Portuguese. Yeah.
Portuguese. I forget. Yeah, because they all have that same. I, you, we.
Ish.
Yeah. And then, of course, this venture into Japanese has this. Fucking Captain Caveman wrote this language. It is.
Well, what is it? There's actually 3
embarrassing.
languages that are closely related to each other, and Japanese is one of them. I don't think Korean is one, but I think like Mongolian is one.
Korean has, I mean, from what I can see, there are elements that sort of cross over, but not.
Yeah, and then
I'd have to go further.
and the other one is like Turkish, so they're all like conjugated the same way, and it has to do with Mongol conquests. So, yeah,
The Kahn was here, huh?
the Kahn was
Okay.
here, yes,
Right,
and he brought
right.
his Sanskrit with him or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, actually, they adopted a different alphabet. It was, I can't remember. I'm going back to my like hardcore history days here, where Dan was explaining that. Because they could like recognize, because when they went to new places they could recognize the letters, but they were like jumbled up. It was like Cookie Monster.
Did they
fucking got his hands on your language?
Yeah, did they sort of did they incorporate languages that they conquered into their language?
Kind of, but they didn't have any writing. And so they developed, and I can't remember the alphabet. It's not like Cyrillic or whatever the Russians use.
No,
but it's something like that. It's a little bit off, where it's got a couple extra zigzaggies in it and stuff. So they could read the letters, but they didn't mean the same thing when that Mongol showed up. But no, I was reading about that not too long ago. There's like a belt there, and it goes all the way from like Turkey to Japan, where like conjugating verbs is actually pretty similar. So
yeah, there's only 5.
Okay.
Sort of. I mean, kind of. In English, it's the same way. It's just it is a little bit different, and the sentence structure is actually far more stupid than I gave it credit for. Because now that I've got it figured out, I'm like, this is rideculous.
What, Russian or English?
Yeah, Japanese.
Oh, Japanese. Oh, sorry.
So there's this language will be dead in 100 years. Dead. There's no elegance to it.
I don't
whatsoever.
know. There's enough weeboos out there, so
They'll learn this language. Listen. They teach our language in their schools.
They do.
We do not teach their language in our schools.
Well, you can find it.
No, you can find it.
Yeah.
They have to take it.
Do they in Japan?
Yep. That's
I didn't know that.
That's a mandatory class. All the kids take it.
I haven't had a Japanese student in a long time, so I've only had a few. They never seem terribly impressed with America. So, but I've only had a few, so I don't know.
Yeah, man, I can understand. I mean, it just depends on what your expectations are and what you're looking for. Like, there are certain things that, if you watch stuff, there are certain things that the Japanese are always impressed by in terms of what this culture does. Culture, not necessarily society or learning structures, but culture in terms of, like, wow, people will just come up and talk to you.
Okay, yeah, I have seen those back when I used to watch Asian Boss.
Right.
So they would do that. That show went off the rails, though, man. So, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're.
Yeah.
Are they? Have they been co-opted by the CCP?
Maybe.
Right.
I don't know. CCP presence just doesn't hit my radar as much as it did before. Because it's kind of like, oh, okay, you know. It's like you look at the receipts, like, oh, this came from Target, got it.
Well, man, okay, so I did a little bit of a dive the other day where they talked about numbers, and their numbers are awful.
If
Their
you
numbers
can even
are
trust their numbers.
Awful. Well, they based it off things that they were able to get accurate numbers from because they originate from outside of the country.
Right, like
So-
exports and stuff.
Exports
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and also people that are trying to invest in that area.
You
and
can't do it.
that has dropped to next to nothing.
Oh, no, they co-opt your shit. Everybody's wise to them now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean...
And as per their numbers, which means it is significantly worse, they are 300% debt to GDP.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And they're going to go higher, too, man. So...
Well, that's what they say it is.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you know, they're going to have to bail everybody out over there. And their currency is going to be useless, except for if you live there.
Right.
See, that's the thing about China is China can save itself because it's got a big enough consumer market, so that it can save itself. It can basically bail itself out. Or at least those are the arguments that I've heard lately. It doesn't need foreign direct investment, so to save it. So
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, man. You know, because like standard of living in China is about 1,000 times better than it was 30 years ago.
Yep.
And so if it means that, that means that, CCP, Junior over here gets a fucking Mercedes, and I get to drive, one of my electric cars that was made in my factory. Okay, it's better than pedaling a bike. So
it's interesting. I was as part of the script I was working on this week about 3 tips. This was specifically about finding about delegation and where to find help. Mm-hmm. And in this case, this was the suggestion was actually to basically that Eastern European area. Right?
Oh yeah, no, it's great.
And for that, I actually got to compare some numbers. So the average, or say the median. What is the median monthly income in the United States?
Per household or per person? Monthly?
Monthly.
Median?
Median.
I'm going to guess it's around 4,000, 4,200.
A little bit higher, 5,000.
Okay, all right.
Okay. And so the comparison, again, since this was for entrepreneurs, was Silicon Valley, which is 7,200.
Oh, yeah, that's an outlier, bro.
Well, no. But this was, again, for use of their, for their data for point of comparison. So in Russia right now, what would you guess?
$800.
More.
What?
More.
Okay.
$1,100.
Okay, good. Is that if you're fighting or not?
Can't tell you. And again,
I think that, so this is what we call spiky data. Okay. Where you have convergence on a certain mean, but then you have a spike up here of guys who are getting their fucking balls shot off.
Right. Well, median. Yes, of course, yes. Right. This one came up because there is a person from Belarus on the staff. What would you guess for Belarus?
Less.
You're right.
Yeah. So if Russia is 1,100, Belarus is probably around 8.
That's almost at exactly $7.99. You got it to what? You
$1.
$1. You're $1 over.
I busted.
And so the one I wanted to compare it with was basically the neighbor. Right over there. Poland, yeah.
Poland's got an amazing income. So
what do you think it is?
I bet you it's probably about $2,500 to $3,000.
17.
Okay. Wow, that's cheaper than I thought.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
This is where this actually drove the point home was when it comes to specialization, do you really think that the entirety of the people that are specialized in tech exist in this specific part of California? It's like, no, absolutely not.
Oh,
right?
shit, you can find a shitload of them in India.
That was
So
I didn't even talk about India.
Yeah.
There's a she doesn't like India. It's like I have some dude working in India I don't like.
Right. The law of small numbers strikes again.
There's also that. So it was interesting. That was the point. It was like, so you know how we still had meetings and did all that shit during COVID? Did that technology disappear once the pandemic went away? Like, oh, okay. Well, so I got to... for that, I did a little bit of research, and there was some interesting stuff with the numbers. And again, that was median. You can negotiate this stuff down, too. I mean...
Well, and that's like gross income, too. I mean, so, you'd have to take a look at, like... well, you were doing it by sector, correct? Not just the overall?
Nope, I just did the overall.
Yeah, see, your tech
just did the
sector is going to
overall.
probably take a little bit more.
Well, it depends. It depends on what you get and who you get it from.
See, my guess is in Poland, if you had a median household income or individual monthly income of $1,700, your tech guys probably have a $400 or $500 premium. So on that,
Possibly.
well, there's not that many of them.
Well, that's sort
yeah,
of... I mean, it depends on what they're doing. It depends on how many they have in that area.
Yeah, because
You know.
Poland's not like... I mean, so, like, to go back to India, the thing is there you can play a spread. So there's a 1.1 billion people there. So if you have a tech sector that's just 1% of that, that's still a lot of guys. But if you're in Poland and you have, a population of maybe 60 million... So, and 1% of them are in tech, so...
But that was to say tech, too, because the other purpose of this, right, was not necessarily to offload your tech work, right?
Right.
But basically anything that you are doing that is taking away from your time. So,
Oh, yeah.
if you're going to dump some accounting, or if you're going to dump some, social media management, stuff like that.
So, social media management is definitely portable. So, yeah.
Because as
definitely
I'm
portable.
getting into this shit, I'm like, it is. Once I mean, here's the thing: the systems are automatic enough so that you can basically go in there and say like dump this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right? You can time this stuff. You can do these things. You can also.
Oh, yeah.
Pat, this is something that I had a discussion with the overall management with, right? I don't remember her title. I just know her name now. But basically, she's the one that runs the whole show. And they were talking about how to drum up engagement on social media.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it other than to be provocative.
Well, that's usually the most effective way to do it, depending on your market. So, like, if you're just marketing to the general public, that's how you go. The other way to do it would be through an actual value proposition that means something to people. So that's like, oh, actually, this is a really good fucking deal, kind of thing.
Right.
But like a lot of it is, social media is difficult because it's like Moneyball, man. You got to chase it. You just can't fire and forget because your shit will get stale real fast. Your subscribers will stop paying attention to you. That's one thing that I learned about having my own YouTube channel. This is like just going back and it says that I have X number of subscribers. And then you think that translates into like 1-to-1 watching. It doesn't. It's
not even close.
No, not even close, man.
No.
So, and then the same thing, like click through on YouTube is horrifyingly bad. So, it's like less than 1%.
It should really.
Oh, it's terrible, dude.
Wow.
So, yeah, no, I mean, Well, and that's in the gaming sector too. I mean, if you're going to try and market something to business executives, there's no way they're going to click on it on YouTube. So, I mean, they don't even pay attention to that stuff, man.
Well, it looks like and again, this is not really my strategy per se, but it looks like they're attacking LinkedIn harder than anything else.
LinkedIn is really good for certain things if you actually do it personally. So, like if you put a banner ad up on LinkedIn, nobody's going to fucking see it. So, but
Right.
if you have like an executive who has used those services, and then you can get him to write a recommendation, and you can't make somebody do that. See, that's the thing. Because I'm on LinkedIn a lot, and I can tell you, I can call out fucking clickbait on that thing so fast. It's like, this is paid. This is a paid article. I got it. This is, I'm not interested in this. Stop sending this to me. And then you can go through the subscriber route on there where you pay LinkedIn to push your shit. Fucking swipe that shit off my shit so fast, it's not even funny. So, but in terms of like direct marketing, it's great because I can turn around and like I have a bunch of former students who are recruiters,
Okay.
and they'll post to me and they'll say, hey Pat, I've got this kind of job. I'll kick it out to 500 people and I'll get them a couple dozen interviews, or at least a bunch of people who are interested in it right off the bat. So, but that's because I have a relationship with that individual. That's what makes LinkedIn good, is because there's some people, like, if you do political stuff on LinkedIn, you get shouted down. People like fucking knock that off.
Right,
this isn't like
right.
a place for your fucking cat pictures. And stuff like that. I mean, and there's certain people, they'll tiptoe around it a little bit. He'd be like, hey, I see what you're doing, man. It's cool,
Right.
but you're right on that line,
Right.
buddy. And so,
Right.
and so that's what LinkedIn is good for, especially if you have like a place in like Silicon Valley. LinkedIn is fucking perfect. Okay, because everybody's connected to everybody else in there. So now I doubt they even use LinkedIn that much anymore. They probably have some super secret act. So some weird form of LinkedIn that's not for us normies.
I haven't been made privy to this stuff.
I don't know anything about
I'm working with people who are directly in the spot, but
They would know then.
well, they haven't said there's anything super secret in there,
Okay,
but I
there's
don't
not.
know. Well, I would imagine that the super secret is just basically, are you all on this Telegram channel? Because that's how I do all my work now.
Yeah,
Is
Telegram.
everything
Yeah.
is just
Yep.
different group messages on Telegram now. That's my.
Mm-hmm.
If it's this crowd, then I'm part of this one. If it's this crowd, I'm not. If it's this crowd, I am. If this crowd, I'm not.
I'm curious if your friend actually knows that person who found Telegram. So I know that's pretty hard to reach. But there was a really good piece that I read the other day that dude didn't get busted. He turned himself in. So
It's funny that you said that. She brought it up. She did bring it up, and I will ask.
he was out of jail that day. So
I will ask. Like I said, she brought up. She asked me if I knew about Telegram,
Oh.
and she was like, "What do you know about this guy?" I didn't press any further, but there's a possibility of it that
That's interesting.
if
He's
she
pretty
doesn't-
young.
He's way young.
Yeah, he's pretty young.
He would be part of that Russian circle. I'm going to tell you that much.
Yeah. Well, and like the whole thing that I was reading, and this was this was a spin-off of Foreign Affairs, which is behind a humongous paywall, and I'm not going to pay for it. So, but,
Oh.
yeah. But so I've done this like spy by proxy thing on paywalls. So where I find people who
Alright.
do have access to it, and then talk about it, and then I'm like, okay, I got you. So
you kind of shoulder tapping at the gas station.
yeah, it's kind of like me
yeah.
watching NFL games now.
Yeah.
So I find YouTube streamers who are streaming it. It's
Right,
kind of the same
right.
thing. And so
Okay.
it's just swapping out Al Michaels for some douchebag.
Right. It's not any worse.
Huh?
It's not any worse.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But anyway, and they were talking about so France basically said, hey, so do you want to come live in France, or do you want to stay And he was like, "Well, all my nice stuff is in France." And they were like, "Well, come on in here, and we're gonna make you a little deal, buddy." So, and like the outlines of that deal are not like
Fully
privy.
disclosed.
But my understanding, you can ask her this, is that Telegram's actual cybersecurity is fucking terrible. So their encryption is easily busted. So like, and so and the Russian military basically uses it for all their communications. And so France was like, hey, the NSA doesn't give us those cool tools that they have in Langley's. So why don't you help us out here a little bit, buddy? I think he might have got shaken down, so that the French and by extension all of the EU, who the Americans have basically shut out of their security apparatus since they spilled the beans to the Russians, right before Ukraine. So
Right.
and they learned not to actually like share any information with the Germans in particular. So that they were looking for a way to actually do that. I mean, this is like Tom Clancy fucking level bullshit, but I was just kind of curious if I was completely off base with that.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
The unfortunate thing is except for when it happened, details about it have been very scarce. At least from what I've seen.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the point.
By design.
That means it's kind of probably fairly neutral. So,
No, it makes sense. I mean,
he didn't run into an Ecuadorian embassy and start tweeting like crazy. So.
he did not. No, no, it's a little bit different story.
Yeah, very different story.
I'll see what I can dig up. This could be, a very open secret. I don't know.
It might be in the right circles. There's just that's like 10 arm's lengths for me. So I don't know, man. I can just go off what I read. So
sometimes it's right out there. Sometimes it's everybody
is.
knows he did this. Everybody knows this.
Got full P Diddy.
Forgive the pun. The rap sheet is growing by the day.
It does grow by the day, man, and it's just got tentacles that are going in every direction. I don't know which ones I like the most yet, but I have some favorite ones.
I want the one that reaches out to Don Lemon. That's
Don Lemon.
He hasn't been named. I just want it to end up on his line.
I like the Al Sharpton one, so that one was pretty good.
I think Al Sharpton is definitely on that list.
He is. They have pictures of him at the parties.
Right.
When he was a little bit tubbier and still wore tracksuits.
Yes.
So, yeah. So that was the one that I saw. I was like, oh, the Reverend Al Sharpton, neat. So,
right.
Yeah. So,
right.
Donald Trump was there a couple times too, man. So they got pictures of him and his wife there at one of the white parties. I was like, huh. So, well, they were in New York.
I was going to say, it's entirely possible. I would say it this way. It doesn't seem. Here's the weird thing about Trump, right? He just his palate is so childish, right? That there's something in me that says like this wouldn't interest you.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I think he. Well, I don't know, man. He is a pig. So.
Yes.
Yeah, he is. He is a pig. I think that's pretty clear. But is he a baby oil pig? I don't think
that's
so.
Sort of what I'm saying. Is he so I think he's well aware of guys who go to the Eyes Wide Shut parties, but I don't think he would go to that. I think he'd be like, well, I don't want to put on the stupid robe and a mask and all that other stuff. That's corny.
Yeah, I don't think he would do that.
No.
Well, just like Bill Clinton, I don't think Bill Clinton would actually go to something like that either.
I don't think so
partake.
either. No.
Yeah,
no.
He's too smart for that.
I don't even think it's a question of smart. I think he's just kind of like, this is not my deal. This is dumb. This is like, here's the thing. I want to get down to this, right?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he's a little bit more of a like, so prostitution is my thing, or not necessarily.
Bill Clinton, I don't think so.
No, just in terms of like, I want to spend this much money or whatever this may be to get this now.
Bill
right?
Clinton?
Yes.
I don't know. I think he'd like. The whole Monica thing. And I mean, we're going way back in the Wayback Machine now, man. But that was about power. So that was about
exactly.
But that's not about like let's get down to business. You know, it's not. It's there's nothing transactional about that.
No, it's I want this.
Yeah. Let's see if I can get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's the kind of person to fuck around with a whole bunch of theatrics and like he would be like, this is stupid.
Yeah, I don't think he would pay for it either.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying in terms of like actual like I'm going to pay you money for this. I think it's in more terms of I have a vision of what I want, and I want this, and I want to be out of here in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't want to linger on this. I don't want to be part of a special stupid group. I just want to be like again. That's where the
Yeah, but see, that's where he and Donald Trump are different, man. Donald Trump is definitely a party animal, so he likes being the life of the party. Maybe those parties are a little bit too over the top for him because he can't be the guy in the center of the party. I don't know. So.
I mean, that's the thing.
But he was there. They got pictures of him. And his wife, yeah.
It's the same way that they have pictures of everybody with Epstein and Maxwell.
Yeah, he used to go to their parties, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a little bit different. So, Donald Trump actually did go to Diddy's parties. So,
right.
Yeah. But, you know, it's like, all right, so, like, is this the party or are you here for the party? I don't know, man. So, but the hilarious thing is that we're probably all going to find out because there are way too many lawsuits.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, man. When the ants all come out of the ant, you're not going to get out of it.
And the sheer amount of when they put down the first settlement and like NDA, and they said this went away, and then it was 2 days later, 2 people came forward.
Oh yeah, then all of a sudden 50.
Yeah.
That's kind of
wow.
That's not like the Kevin Spacey thing where it's just like one and then another one later. So or even Donald Trump in some respects, he was kind of like that too. So, but when 50 fucking people show up and they're like, oh, thank God, he's not going to kill me now. Right. Yeah. So there's something about it that's a little bit messed up. Yeah, no, the NBA is bad. So, you know, like how deep it goes.
Basketball?
And it's reaching some of the absolute legends in there. So and actors, it was like so you know, it's he probably raped, you know, fucking, Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
He might have raped Will Smith, too.
He might have.
So there's a picture in there of Will Smith, and he looks really unhappy to be there. So, oh my God, yeah, I've been spending way too much time on the New York Post.
This is a little bit outside of your normal area of gossip. This is.
Oh, I got tired of war porn, man. I can only do so much war porn and so much traffic porn, and then I can't just. I just can't do it, man. So,
there have been rumors. There have been rumors that basically the rap industry is fucking ridiculously gay and has been for. Basically since its inception.
There might be a split between East Coast and West Coast. You did mention that the other day.
Well, okay.
And there are some of the West Coast guys who are like, fuck that, I was not there. So I wouldn't hang out with that guy. Yeah.
Well, if you saw, okay, so if you've been playing into this, you must have seen that interview with Suge Knight.
I did.
And he's doing everything in his head is like, I wouldn't go to that party. It's, why not? I'm not that way.
I'm not that way. Yeah.
And, like, I can tell. So, this is the thing
I did see that one. And he says it with, like, such, like, he's like, I can't do my brothers like this, but it needs to be done, you know?
He's like, I can't have anybody mistakenly thinking that I would go to this. Because, again, he was talking about it like, why are we tap dancing around this? We all know what's going on here, right? It's the same thing. Like, if you watch, and people don't believe this shit, right? When you see videos of Tupac, before he goes to, I think he goes to Juilliard, right? Mm-hmm. That dude is as gay as it gets.
Oh, yeah.
As gay as it gets. Now, again...
Well, there was a group of that back then. I mean, this was like... I mean, we're not even talking Michael Jackson, but you had Prince there the entire fucking time. So...
But Prince, well-documented heterosexual.
Oh, no, I thought he was thoroughly established as
him?
bi. I thought that was thoroughly established.
Every woman that's talked about their encounters with this guy has made it pretty clear. It's like, nah, this dude ain't gay.
Oh well, I don't know. I thought he was. So I thought he was bi. So I thought he was one of those famous guys.
I mean, there's a possibility of it. I mean, there are dudes that famously like outside. Well, and that's Prince. I mean, Prince was never a rapper. I mean, so he's not really part of that.
I know, but it came out of
se.
that pop culture in some respects. So.
Oh, I mean, if you're to believe some of the stories, like, I know. I think it was Jagger's wife caught Mick Jagger and David Bowie in bed.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not
turned into an eagle.
Look, dude. I mean, well, this is the thing is like sometimes. So the thing that was like weird about it within the rap industry was basically you have these people that are, you would consider they're just music theater guys. Right, mm-hmm. They just happen to be black, and essentially the idea behind this is that the studio needs this from you. Can you do it?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, sure.
And they turn on this persona as such, right? But they're coming from a crowd that is basically like Los Angeles or New York gay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
So
I mean, to look at this, I mean, this is
that's funny. They stand in stark contrast. Guys who actually did come out of the hood too. So
look, the dudes that come out of the hood,
yeah,
dudes that came out of the hood are usually really homophobic.
Yeah.
Really homophobic, generally speaking.
Yeah, but you get that whole down low thing, too.
I don't know.
That's real.
It's hard to say.
I've had people confirm that to me.
I'm sure it's part of it, but I'm also sure like there's also a piece of you have to keep it really down low because if you do figure out about the down low, you would have gotten your ass kicked back in the 80s, in the 90s.
Yeah, that's a long time.
In that crowd, yeah,
that's a long time ago. That's 2 generations back now, man. So.
Well, look about the people that we're talking about. These people come from those generations.
P. Diddy comes from that? I thought he was a little bit later.
He's part of
he's a little bit later.
He's part of that scene. He pops up in the basically like the mid-90s.
Yeah, okay. I think he's about the same age as I am, and so I kind of use it as a judge there, because like some of the other guys that I'd associate with the original crowd there, they're in their 50s and 60s now. So
some of them are.
Yeah,
like Snoop Dogg is. I mean,
he's got to be like 60. So.
And there's a lot of talk that he is.
Oh, he's definitely there. Come on, man. So, come on, dude. There are pictures of him in those parties, man. So,
but again, as you've described, there's the party and then there's the back room.
Okay, you tell me where he was going to be.
I think he was in the back room. Actually, so
yeah, me too.
Okay, all right. So there's a chance. Let me put it this way. All right, so there's a chance that he and a certain group of dudes, right? And I'm not saying this in terms of this or anything. There is a group of dudes in that sector that are basically at that time and even a little bit now, right? They're sort of like 70s in the way that they were stoners, and they were stoners and nothing else, right? That was the crowd that they hung out with it. Now, does that mean that things couldn't have happened? No, but generally speaking, it's like, all right, those guys are off in this room. Stoners, like big time, like the fucking, pot guys, they're over there, right?
I think you're wish casting here.
I'm not wish casting anything. I'm saying it's a possibility. I'm not saying, look, all right. All I'm confirming, everything that I'm confirming here, okay? So everything that I'm learning out of this scenario, and basically every step that we've taken. When we go back, we talked about our losers that let us down, and you go back to your Cosbys, and you go to...
We're about to have another big Cosby moment here.
Well, so as I'm walking all these guys back, with the things that have leaked out of old Hollywood and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, is I am convinced there was never a good Hollywood. I'm convinced that this area has been a has been a cesspool of degenerates since its inception, since like the fucking vaudeville days. And
Well,
it
yeah,
is-
Charlie Chaplin was freaky. So, yeah. So,
he doesn't seem like he'd be,
he totally was. You didn't know that?
but he is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So,
Freaky by whose standards, though?
he used to beat people. So, women. So, in particular. Yeah, he... Like, if you dig into his history a little bit, man, he's kind of...
So did Babe Ruth. I mean, here's the...
That guy's definitely
I mean,
That's my team, bro. Come on, man. If you don't police your own side, you're not allowed to bitch about the other one. You know?
Jeffrey, this is the greatest man ever played the game. He
Yeah.
was a degenerate.
He was a degenerate alcoholic, man. So
He only looks good in comparison. He looks good in comparison to dudes like Ty Cobb and stuff.
yeah, that's true. Ty Cobb was a problem too. So
He was a human piece of shit.
it's possible that he actually killed people. So, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's the thing is in comparison. We always say this. It's based off the era that you live in, not the mores of today.
Morals need to be graded on a curve. Yeah.
So again, where does Chaplin rate compared to his
I think he's a little bit more degenerate than the average person. Yeah.
Hollywood guy?
In 1925, yes. If I were to put him and Buster Douglas up against each other, I bet you Buster Douglas probably looks like a church kid.
Buster Douglas?
Or not Buster
Keaton?
Keaton.
Oh,
thank you.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
okay.
Buster Douglas
Yeah.
is very later. So, yeah.
And so yeah, okay, so if I'm gonna go for ghosts like that, like I don't think George Foreman got up to shenanigans like that. I think he did stuff.
Ooh.
But I don't think he was a fucking like monster in these circles.
Dude, he was there with Don King, so I don't know, man. So maybe I can't.
This is what I'm
I have no
talking about,
evidence to
yeah.
confirm nor deny.
You know what? Actually, the evidence is:
So-
were you in the area at the time? You have a. There's a
Kinda.
lot of guys getting some guilt by association right now.
There is, well, yeah, and that's the whole thing about this whole Diddy thing. It's a fucking volcano that erupted.
Right.
And so the question is where's the lava going to flow? You know? It's coming down the mountain, buddy. So whose
Yeah.
house is it going to get? You know? Y'all live next to the volcano. So, yeah, it might be legit, and your house deserves to get burned down, and it might just be that you happen to live next to, to Don King. You know?
And if it just so happens that you are, you just happen to be that dude that's in, because I think that there are some guys in Hollywood that are straight up like nice guys. They go.
Oh, sure, there's
they,
tons of them.
They go to they're invited to parties. They stay 2 hours.
There's tons of them. There's ones that have even been vilified over the years that actually have a reputation for that. Like Walt Disney had an impeccable reputation. So, you
Right.
know, I mean, he was married to the same woman for his entire fucking life. You know, I mean, he liked to play with trains in his backyard. So he wasn't going to these, swinger parties every night. And so,
Right.
but I mean, he's there when the Rat Pack is basically running around town, So, I mean, it's a little bit different. So, and there's other guys in there at the same point in time that, is like kind of stand-up dudes. So, but I mean, there's a thing about the Diddy thing that it's like we're all like primed for this right now because I think everybody's thoroughly fucking sick of the election. So I mean,
Two things: they're sick of the
they're
election,
totally sick of the election.
and they're sick of any sense of moral superiority being dished out by a celebrity.
Yeah. And the fact that like this one if it comes from the rap community and burns down Hollywood, I don't think too many people are going to give a fuck. So we're just here. We all got our popcorn out now, man, and we're just going to watch this.
Well, I mean, it's so
Because the Epstein thing was like, who's that? It was like,
Well-
what, Dershowitz? He was like, who's this fucking physicist from Harvard? I don't care about that.
So the Epstein
You
thing
know?
was
It only got interesting when it got near Bill Clinton. So
well, okay. So I imagine that there were plenty of other people that were part of this. We'll never know, right?
But that's the only thing that would be interesting is if we actually burned down a president. So, I mean, Bill Gates, everybody knows that Bill Gates is a creeper. So they've known it for 20 years. was like, oh yeah, I'm not surprised that Bill Gates was there, and he wasn't even involved in Microsoft by the time he was doing this. So it's not like you can punch down on Microsoft because of Bill Gates being on Rape Island, you know. So
Well, you can.
You can, but I mean, come on, dude, that's a reach, man. He's long gone at that point in time. So, and I mean, Bill Gates famously had an arrangement with his wife where he got to go and, exactly, do whatever he wanted in Vegas twice a year.
Oh, that wasn't even it.
Oh, what was it?
That wasn't even the whole deal.
Well, that's the part of the deal that I found juicy. What's the rest of the deal?
The other deal was that there was a also a couple of times a year it was gets to see his ex-wife or ex-girlfriend, no questions asked.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Right.
All right, so he treats his marriage like a transaction, whatever.
Well,
okay.
you know who else was like that? Predates him.
Huh?
Einstein.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Famously.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was also, like, famously married to people who were consistently 30 years younger than him. So, which is weird. So, but anyway, especially when you're that old. But anyway.
Do you ever see the list of stipulations that he had?
Oh, it's crazy, man.
In order to...
so you could, like, don't speak unless spoken to, you know, and all kinds of shit on there.
There's one on there that is so specific. That is like, do not touch this roll-top desk ever. And I can guarantee you that one comes from, like, you
somebody fucking touched the desk.
You don't write that unless, there's so many. You've definitely seen it. It's like, it's like there will be no benefit to you in this relationship. This is for the sake of the children. This is, if I tell you to shut up, just shut up.
Dude, it was, there was a traumatized man. So, you know.
Fine. Okay.
Who just decided to extend it, you know. It was like, well, this is what happened to me as a kid, so I'm going to take it on you too. So. But I don't know, man. I don't know that much about Einstein. I've never found him that terribly interesting. But
well, my understanding is that he a very smart guy. There's no two ways around it. But I guess part of that was he at some point recognized his. I guess that there were people in that field at that time who were basically his contemporaries in terms of ability and knowledge and talent. But because of his eccentricities, he ended up being the face, like being the one guy that ends up taking credit for an entire era.
Yeah, that's true.
And that happens.
That's true.
I mean,
it does happen.
It does happen.
Yeah. So that definitely happens. So, but like, so like eccentricities aside and stuff like that, man. I mean, you know, you're right. He was a famous dick. So, you know,
can't fucking shit on his accomplishments, but
no, but that's my point about Epstein in some respects too. The interesting thing always about the Epstein was, do we get a picture of Bill Clinton with an underage girl?
Right.
That's what we wanted out of that. All right. So, and then once we figured out that Bill Clinton's too fucking smart to do that, it was like, all right, whatever. You know, it's like, oh, okay, go burn down, you know, some Harvard economist. Nobody cares. So, you know. It was like, then it got Prince Andrew, and everybody's like, ooh, are there more? And it was like, no. And it was like, it's okay, we'll take that one.
And so then there's this.
And so now there's this, man. And so this is like throwing a net in a koi pond. You know?
Because I feel like this is...
We're going to see what we're going to pull out of here, man. Because we know there's some big, fat fishes in there. You know?
And that's the thing. It's local. I mean,
it's totally local, and everybody knows who P. Diddy is.
Right. Right.
And so you don't need all this backstory about like, oh, how do you get rich and how do you do this? We watched it happen. So we all know the backstory. And so, you know, and all secretly it was like, yeah, you're living the life, aren't you, man? You just make so much money. You just mint money, and so you throw it around like candy. You know, it's like, what are you up to there, dude? You know, it's just like, okay, you know, you see him at the MTV Awards, the BAFTA Awards, and the Grammys all the time and shit like that. It's like, are you legit, man? You know?
There's this thing of like, now in hindsight, there's this, you know, when they're showing the footage, I'm like, why are you constantly hugging little white boys?
Yes. Yeah.
How did I miss all this?
How did I miss this before? It was like happening right underneath your nose.
I feel like I would have said something if I noticed.
And then it's funny because it's like, how about the rest of you guys in that community who knew about this? You're not calling people out, huh? So you write songs about this all the time, you know?
Right.
So, but then like the really juicy part is like it's heading right for the juiciest part of Hollywood, man. So it is making the lava is making a beeline for Leonardo DiCaprio's empire. So, which is going to set a whole shitload of stuff on fire if it hits.
Well, Leonardo DiCaprio is basically who I would consider the. I don't want to say the leader. I don't know if he's basically the Sinatra of the new Rat Pack.
He might be.
But we're talking about a 1A, 1B situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there's a couple of people who are right there in that family.
Let's see if it gets Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt is so far on the exiting end. Now, don't let his undying looks fool you. He is up there age-wise.
Well, but see, that makes him an easy sheep to sacrifice. So
he does, but I mean, you're gonna get like Damon and Affleck first. I mean,
Matt Damon, really? You think so?
100%.
Okay, all right.
100%. Look,
I don't know that much about Matt Damon, so.
Look,
I know Ben Affleck's a piece of shit, but, you know.
They're in the same crowd, man.
Yeah, that's true. But my understanding is that Ben Affleck has a little bit more problems with impulse control than Matt Damon does.
Way more. As a matter of fact,
way more.
There was a guy that, he was talking about when he was sent over to work for, in Affleck's... He had an enterprise there for a little bit, right? I don't know if he still does, but he had this little like enterprise, and this was all the stuff that was like Project Runway and all that other shit that was tied to his name.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
So he was working with him over there, and basically like one of the things he talked about was, so Affleck would be constantly drunk, right? Mm-hmm. And so I mean, this was just something that you can do when you're the boss and you don't get called out on it. Was kind of, it was like a pranking kind of thing. So it was like, well, the thing that you didn't want to have happen was if you wore like a low-collared shirt, right? Affleck would walk behind you and put his balls on your neck.
That's disgusting. Oh, my God.
Right, and that's the thing is
that... Oh, my... All right, man. Let me dig a little trench to his house here.
Now, here's the thing, is there's a component of that I can see is like, look, I have seen juvenile behavior from boys, right, in boys' club scenarios, okay? I have seen boys weaponize piss like nobody's business. But there's also a component of this...
I know you've seen that, man. I just find that so funny because I never saw that.
I've seen it. I mean, that's the thing, is like, this was just not out of the norm. But imagine for a second being anybody that's not Affleck doing that in that meeting. It would be your ass. But this is the kind of thing where you cannot... There are certain things, you can read this about a person. It's like, would this person do this? It's like, well, yes, if it's his company, and he's okay with A, being drunk every day, B, putting his balls on people's neck for a prank, I can now draw certain conclusions and say, when it comes to impulse control or being around, like, certain scenarios, you wouldn't say no.
Yeah,
I
he's
can
not
see,
gonna say
yeah,
no.
It's like, I can tell how you've ruined several marriages, right?
Well, it's one of them twice, famously.
Right.
Now. Yeah.
I think neither of you grew in the process. Yeah.
Oh no, they're the same people they were 20 years ago.
I think for them, their merry-go-rounds just happened to be spinning at the same time, where they both like were in proximity. It's like, are you dating anyone? It's like, no.
No,
are
I
you?
just dumped Derek Jeter, A-Rod.
Right. Yeah, and they just happen to be at the same.
I wonder if those parties are going to get Derek Jeter.
I don't want him to get got.
I don't want him to get got unless he's guilty.
Derek Jeter famously did everything right.
Yeah.
As far as why the city of New York loves him.
Okay.
He was the anti-A-Rod. He didn't...
Well, yeah, I think Derek Jeter is famous for... He's like a very competent baseball player, but he was not A-Rod.
He was not A-Rod.
So, because that city hates that man.
From the day he arrived. Because,
Yes,
I mean, that's where they
arrived.
started making waves about, somebody's going to have to change their position.
Right, yeah.
It's like, well, they love me here. It's like, but I'm A-Rod.
But I'm A-Rod.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That did happen. So
Yeah, because Jeter came up from the system. He wasn't a...
A-Rod would have been much better off if he came up and played with the Mets. So, the city probably would have liked him a little bit more. He'd be like, well, we have our guy, we have our boy in the Bronx, but then, this kid's pretty good too.
No, it's just like, look, although Darryl Strawberry did a couple of years at the tail end of his career with the Yankees,
they still love him.
That dude is a Met. That dude is a Met through and through, and has a Met attitude.
Dude, that was a retirement gift. That's what that was. That was a gold watch in the box.
Yeah, they needed just a little bit of power at that point. And, that dude is a Met. He through and through. Yeah, because look, from that time, there was a time period when the Mets had scumbag attitudes. Man, this is the Keith Hernandez era. This is the good players.
Good players. Lenny Dykstra. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Who was, I guess, famously kind of a
dick.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah. Like, I understand. Like at the time, like Kruk was like a likable dick.
But, oh my god, I forgot about that.
All right. Well, he was Philly though.
Yeah, I know he was Philly, but yeah, he was supposed to
be goddamn area
until you get a little bit of beer in him, he just go complete fucking Popeye on you. You know? So,
but my understanding is Lenny Dykstra thought his shit didn't stink, and there were some psychos on New York at that time. Like Paul O'Neill would go crazy.
He would.
Yeah,
he was a good player though.
Fantastic player. They were lucky to pick him up.
Yeah, he's a good coach too. So.
Yeah, but that dude was passionate.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, you still see that in a lot of baseball.
Yeah.
So, the NFL's been so thoroughly disciplined by social media and attorneys.
The NFL seems tame in comparison. It seems almost dull.
It really does, and this year is a weird year, man. So I think William was onto something with the schedule being rigged. To actually make things difficult to predict. So, you're not seeing the absolute ass whoopings that you used to do. So, which means you're not seeing the celebrations that you used to see.
Right.
So, the poor sportsmanship and
because that's how rivalries and bad blood starts.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally.
You're up by 30 and you fucking run up the score.
You fucking put your balls on somebody's neck. You guys are going to remember that.
Come on, man. You and I remember that. It's like if you run up the score, there's a cheap shot coming.
Totally. Yeah. So, but I don't know, man. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe the P. Diddy thing will actually spill some lava onto the NFL, too. Who knows? So, who lives in New York? Michael Strahan lives up there.
Michael Strahan, famously rumored.
Right, yeah. He does like his TV. Is he still on the TV?
You got me, dude.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, so because he was doing the Today Show for a long time, he might still be doing it.
Well, wasn't he eventually Regis's replacement?
I think he started as that, temporarily here and there.
Yeah,
because it was Regis and Kathy.
For 25 years or some shit.
And then it was Regis and Kelly, and then it was Kelly and Strahan, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I think that lasts for a long time.
I don't know if it's still going or not.
Because I know Kathy went over to the Today Show.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's been a while
since I've watched You're talking about this shit that, even on a sick day home from school, I wouldn't waste my time.
Oh, fuck no. I watch Price is Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, the NFL seems just kind of bleached and sanitized right now. And I don't know if that's for the best. I mean, there's no kneeling controversy right now. There's no...
I'll take that. So that's better than it was a couple of years ago. So the NFL is at the center of a bunch of this shit. So, if it wants to sit in the background for a little bit and just make money, that's fine. So that's totally fine.
I think they're happy to do it. I think they'd be happy to not be the epicenter of sports controversy for a change. Just we're gonna sit this one out for a little bit.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a hockey strike or something this year. You know?
Hockey. Look, man, hockey took their swipes at things that should have gotten people pissed off, but instead it worked in their favor.
It did, yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. So postseason baseball is on right now, though. So,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah. But other than that, yeah, I was watching, by proxy, some NFL stuff today, and it's just, man, it's just, it doesn't have its hooks fully into me, and I don't think they're going to bite this year. So we'll see. Maybe after postseason baseball is done, if the Yankees get knocked out, who are they playing? I think they're playing the Brewers. So, no, not. They are playing Brew Crew.
They're playing the Brew? Okay.
Yeah, Brew Crew. So, if I'm not mistaken, no, they're playing the Royals. My bad. They're playing the Royals.
Oh, right, yeah.
I can get on board with rooting for the Royals. So, I harbor no ill will. I'll go with the bend the knee philosophy this year. So,
you who have defeated me.
Yes, I will bend the knee for the next 3 weeks. See you next year.
Fair combat.
Yes.
Right. Hey, that's been my philosophy. That's chivalry through and through.
I try and sell it to people at the yacht club. They are not on board, man. There is just so much hate watching in sports right now. It's not even possible.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's fucking like William wouldn't get a tattoo, but William's tattoo would be hate watching.
William does a lot of hate watching.
Jesus Christ, he'd get that backwards on his forehead so he knows what the. This is what I get up for every day.
His tattoo is a barcode on the back of his
fucking,
neck.
he's got across his knuckles or some shit.
Right, yeah, take that.
Yeah, that dude make no bones about it. I'm like, you are. Like if I go in the back of like the manual, like the football manual, like the Talmud of the NFL rules book that gives commentary, like Section 8 bad fans. Like
it's not an appendix, man. It's its own act.
It's like I get it. So the Old Testament is your book, but the Talmud, these are all the
right.
These are all the commentaries, and they've got a spot just for you. It's like price these guys out of the games, like do whatever it takes.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
He's unashamed. That's the thing.
Oh no, yeah, he's not even just unashamed. He's unapologetic.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So, no. We'll see.
Yeah, and it again, it's still early in the season. It might get me. I got to tell you, like the biggest thing for me is like I have been waiting for a long time to see what New England does after the Belichick-Brady era, and I am not impressed. I'm like, I think you guys made the wrong move. I don't think Jared Mayo is your guy.
Is he coaching?
Yeah.
Where's he at?
New England.
Belichick.
Oh no, he's not.
He's out.
He's out.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, because I've been waiting to see like what is the next era of. Because you have to see it eventually. Eventually, the Montana era ends. The Elway era ends.
Every era ends, man.
And you can cling to it as much as you want, but it's like I want to see what the next realm is like. Oh, this is bad. I don't see a lot of promise. So this is one of those things where it looks like you're going to have to churn personnel for like 5-6 years.
Oh, I hope it's not that long. Well, the NFL does churn a lot more than it used to. So,
agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So it is what it is. But
a fucking jet for crying out loud. He's one step away from pulling a full Brett Favre. All he has to do is go to Minnesota next year.
Right. Right.
So maybe he'll even get Parkinson's too. Oh, sorry.
You know what? On a positive note, man, I did see that like Parkinson's like treatment has come a long way.
Yeah.
Like it is so much more effective than it used to be.
It's way better. Yeah. No, I've got a buddy in my school program who he started to develop Parkinson's probably about halfway through the program, and I saw him last spring. And I probably hadn't seen him in about 4 years. So, and I thought for sure that he would be completely melted. He's a little melty, but I mean, way better than like other people that I've seen get Parkinson's over the years.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
So, because that happened to my aunt, and then there was one guy that I used to work with a long time ago at the airport. He got it real bad.
Did he really?
Yeah, he was my old boss. So, and then he got it, and he was basically, well, I mean, he was a little bit older too. So, he was probably in his late 60s when he got it, and so it killed him pretty quick though. It was maybe a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've seen it happen to a couple of people, and I was impressed that my buddy Dave was actually like 6 years on. He was still pretty good. So I mean, he had a little tremor in his hands, but that was it. His speech was fine. So
see, that's
his speech was fine. He knew who we all were when we went to go see him. Stuff, it was great. So yeah.
The one that they've made, the one that they've still made like barely any progress on is still what, ALS. Lou Gehrig's?
You can live a lot longer than you used to with that, but it is absolutely fatal. So it will get you. So, but you can live a lot longer than you used to. So there's a lot of palliative things that actually slow that down. So
is that it?
Yeah,
okay.
That's it.
All right. And also the one that surprises me, given that it's funny at this point, but AIDS is kind of an afterthought.
Like HIV is it's almost curable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then they can basically keep it from ever becoming AIDS. So from what I understand, that's interesting. I've never actually known someone directly who had HIV. So like nobody in my family, or anything like that. I've never known anybody. Well, at least that they would disclose. So
I seem to recall at one time, I think a person with HIV came to one of the schools once that I was at and gave a presentation.
That happened to me in high school.
I think that happened in
That guy had full-blown AIDS.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was very long for the world at that time, because this was before they found that you could blend up money. So this was in the height of the Magic Johnson period. So
it was. Who is still around?
It looks great. So
it's like, you do not look like you have the same disease that's withered people down to a matchstick.
Did his ever actually advance to AIDS?
I don't think it did.
I don't think it did. Yeah,
I don't think it did.
Yeah, but no, that one's basically an afterthought. So it's almost entirely mitigable now. Though they're doing great stuff with Alzheimer's too, from what I understand. So
they're starting to see connections that they never saw before, and the fact that
this is AI, it's fantastic for that.
Well, actually, this predates a little bit. Like it coincides with certain parts, but they started to make progress when they started looking. They're like, we're looking at a different part of the body. It's like we keep going up, we need to go down.
Yeah, and
they started looking at the teeth.
Oh, really? I didn't heard that.
Yeah, because what they were finding was that there was a big correlation when it came to basically bacteria coming in through the mouth, right? And they were finding these connections between like poor dental hygiene at certain areas, because they were looking at like certain areas and stuff too. I can't remember the full details, but they were like, "Wow, there's a really strong correlation here." Yeah, they're starting to make good strides.
That's really interesting.
Because this was the thing. Like, you and I used to talk about this like decades ago. And we're like, there was a short list of like 5 ways that you don't want to die. One is like immolation. That sucks.
Self or otherwise.
I'm not going to make too much of a distinction.
Immolation, death by shark attack. And I want to be eaten.
I think you've had that on your list for a very long time.
That one's always been the top one on my list. I would rather fall from an airplane, at 30,000 feet than get eaten by a shark. So
fine, not going to fight you on that. There were a couple other ones, and I seem to recall us both agreeing, like, you don't want to go from Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I've had several family members go from Alzheimer's. It sucks. So
my grandma,
yeah. It's like all those are bad. Yeah, my grandma didn't even know who I was.
See, that's
She died when I was probably about 6, and she had had Alzheimer's probably for like 10 years at that point in time.
Right.
So I never really even met her. Maybe I was 10. So I think she knew me when I was like a toddler. So, but not like, oh, this is, my grandson. It was like, oh, this is the little kid who's going to play with his blocks.
Right.
So kind of thing, yeah. So, and then I have one aunt who's got it now, currently. She's getting bad. My mom says she's getting bad. My mom says she's getting bad. My mom's not getting that bad.
Right.
She's as forgetful as she's ever been. So, and then my uncle's got it. He's going to have it bad. So, and that's too bad because he was actually a medical doctor. So, and he talked about it for years. And he was like, yep, that's not a good way to, because he was a psychiatrist. So, and he was like, that's a bad way to go. And he's totally fucking got it. It's bad juju, man. So...
Dude, it's a tough one. It's the kind of thing that makes me think twice about it's not elegant. That suicide pod they have in Switzerland that looks like a shoe.
It does. It looks like something that came out of like the Prometheus ship.
It really does. It's so like, all right. So when I saw the details of it, I'm like, actually, this is very interesting. I like the there were certain things built into it that I'm like, this is actually quite genius when it comes to there are also, I mean, the fact that much like the bell for when they used to bury you alive, there's this thing where it's like, you know what, if you decide that you don't want to do this within the 10-minute window, you can get out.
Oh man, yeah.
If you change your mind, it's like, you know what, that's cool. There's a period where you can think it over, and what's happening there is it's basically changing the gas levels within.
Yeah, I assume it just gets you with monoxide.
Well, sort of, and slowly. It's like a 10-minute like build up.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And yeah, if it basically it's a hatch from the inside where it's like, you know what, if I change my mind, open it up, get out.
Yeah, I would hope that you would change your mind before you even climb into it.
But here's the thing: is I could easily see somebody like on the edge there. It's like the last part where you're like, I have Alzheimer's. I can see the last of myself basically eroding. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff. It's like I would never fault. I'm like, you make this decision, it's the right decision, or it's the wrong decision. It's your decision. It's totally okay. I'm not. It's too big for me to judge. You do what you got to do.
Yeah, no, I'm not on board with that. So, but that's for strictly religious reasons. So
that's fine.
Yeah,
that's absolutely fine. Take it however you like.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yeah, I have that. I guess, okay, so I'd ask this to you, is within the... How do you make that distinction when it comes to preventing this for religious reasons for this particular issue? I mean, there's a lot of things that, for religious reasons, you'd say, like, okay, well, then we should mandate these things. We should, by that same logic, within, like, the Christian text, you'd be like, well, none of us should be working on Sunday then, right?
Well, sure. Yeah.
So how do you make that distinction and say, for religious reasons, I don't think that we should do this, but these things are okay?
Oh, I just, you got to take them on a case-by-case basis. You can't find a thing that's actually a universal principle in the Bible, even if you look for it. So,
well, fair enough.
And so, like, the thing that I point with that is, like, all right, if hell is actually a real place and people who commit suicide go to hell, that's bad. So that's way worse than working on Sunday. So
true, but that being said, it's still the free will of the individual.
Possibly, but it specifically says don't do that. So I don't know. That's a warning that I take pretty seriously. So I don't know.
I assume it's just the severity of that.
Absolutely.
Well, Patrick, they're all. That's not the only mortal sin. I mean, there's
tons of mortal sins in there.
Oh.
Yeah, like, okay, maybe we're all doomed, all right, but still at the same point in time, I mean, that's like the one. There's like two things about it. The first one is definitely a religious thing, and because I always discount. I'll never discount the possibility that what you read in there is actually 90% true, or even if it's 50% true, you know.
Or if I'm wrong and it's 100% true.
You could be 100% true. I doubt that very much because you can tell that a lot of people have scribbled in that thing over the years. You know? There's a lot of shit that went in the margins, but they were like, "What do I copy this?" They're like, "Yeah, just go ahead and put it in there." You know. So,
well, that's true, and basically one editor would be like, "Dude, you got to make this at least 2 sentences.
It's all going to look the same.
You got to make this 2 sentences. Like enough with the comments.
Enough with the comments. Enough. Yeah. Exactly. So there's no footnotes allowed here. You know, so you just put it in the text. Yeah. No, I get that, man. But I mean, there's like certain other things about it too. That's just it's like I do have a little bit of a moral problem about it. I don't think that even with free will and stuff like that it's a noble thing to check yourself out. So I mean, the noble thing is to lean into whatever pain that you're going to go through. So you know. This is where I disagree with like the Japanese suicide pacts and their 9 different forms of suicide. It's like, okay, so I can see how you find that to be honorable in certain situations, but actually the honorable thing is to be a captive and suffer.
Is it?
I think so, but that's a personal choice. So that's a preference. I'm not going to try and defend it. So,
I mean, this is the tough one. Is all right. Now, given, of course, that I'm going to... this is a tough one. All right, so if I'm going to look at this and extend a little bit of cultural latitude...
Sure.
Right? Whereupon you've made this a part of your society.
Okay.
Right? Patrick, the thing is, I feel like I've been fairly open about saying when societies are just wrong. I feel like for as much latitude that as I extend, that I feel like I haven't held back on criticizing. Well, maybe this is worth review. Maybe we've done the thing where we said we'd wait 5 years. We can go ahead and bring it back to we can table it again, right, and discuss whether or not this is smart.
Yeah, I guess it's not my place to actually reform other societies. So, it's like, I choose to either be a part of that or I don't. So, and, I vote with my feet on these things. So
the weird thing, okay, this is the...
I'm not going to fix Islam, Jeff. I can't. So, nor should I think it should be eradicated from the face of the planet, a la CK2. So, I don't think that would actually make anything any better because something else would be there. I mean, if they don't all decide to become Americans tomorrow, then it's not something that it's not my bag. So,
okay. So this is all right, and this is the other. I got into a pretty decent discussion about whether or not. All right, there was a discussion. I think I may have talked about this. Whether or not you're actually fooling God or not. Right.
About what?
Because this was all about the Shabbat, right? This is all about.
I don't even know what that is. What is it?
Oh, it's Jewish Saturday.
Oh, okay. So you're not. Are we talking like the serious one where you can't plug shit in? So
the serious one where you can't plug shit in.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was the whole thing was so there are rules and there are rules and there are rules, right? Mm-hmm. And there are exceptions to all these rules.
Sure.
Now, the argument that a person had with me, right, was that the exceptions were put in place by God to benefit and make it easier for the people of Israel to adhere.
All right, show me the footnote on that one.
Yeah, here's the thing: this is where I was like, okay, so on top of that, everything stems from these interpretations that come from these times, where it says you're not supposed to light a fire on these days.
Right, you're not supposed to wear yellow or linen or whatever. There's all kinds of rules in there. They're crazy.
Shit in there was like, you're not supposed to carry anything. I was like, what do you mean carry?
Like my clothes? Do I need to run around naked? Yeah,
it's the same shit. Where it's like, and you're supposed to be in the community.
And the Greek word for that is probably completely different than what carry means. Anyway.
Oh, dude,
don't even. I mean, it's an untangle. Those are Christmas lights that you throw away, not just try and untangle them, man. Or you plug them in and hang them up.
The fact that
I made a star.
The fact that these assholes have managed to actually string fishing line all around the entire island of Manhattan because that's an Eruv and therefore is part of their Jewish community, the whole island, right? You can do that with a string and just go down the street and say, this is part of the community, right? And so here's the thing is like...
Okay, man. I mean,
well,
I don't see anything terribly bad about that.
Well, so the thing was, and this was the point was, because they're so interpretive, it makes sense to decide on what you believe in and adhere to that, right?
I'm simpler than that. I don't mind hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is not some great sin in my book, okay?
Well, it's not about hypocrisy.
Well, that's what most people take it as, though. So, it's like, well, it says this and you're not doing that. And it's like, well, God said it was okay, so I'm not a hypocrite. That's the point. So...
No, to me, that's not hypocrisy. It's about basically a covenant. Right? I don't see that as hypocrisy. I see that as whatever you decide. Again, this is the same thing where I said, because this was written as lighting the spark. I mean, it's like, well, if you have a fire going, right, you don't have to extinguish it, but you can't start a new one. It's like, okay, whatever. Right? But if you, whatever version of this you decide on, stick to it. Right? Mm-hmm. Because if you, the classic example is like, look, if you're at a hotel, okay, swiping an electronic key card, you can't even undo a lock, but it's like swiping an electronic key card, that's lighting the spark.
Well, yeah, so, they got the elevators that just go up and down, so, so you don't have to push the button.
But this is the whole thing, is theoretically, you're supposed to just leave your hotel door open with your family inside throughout that whole period.
Yeah,
like,
that's a great idea.
I wouldn't fucking do that.
I would never do that.
And so there are plenty of people that just say, like, no, that doesn't, like, I don't even think God would make sense of that. So... don't do it.
Nobody's talked to him in a little while. So,
but this is what I'm saying. It's like, if you think that, then don't do it. But then don't turn around and say, like, well, you know what, but it still says this here. I don't see that as hypocrisy.
That's my point, is they're trying to avoid hypocrisy through that. They say, like, oh, okay, well, if I can construe together a case where I can still do this and maintain this, I'm not a hypocrite.
Then don't bother with it in the first place.
Well, my point is don't let that bother you. So, So,
well, it's not my deal.
Well, no, I'm talking about that guy. Oh. So, yeah, I'd be like, don't let it bother you, okay? So, whatever, if it's one of those things where it's like, well, I still believe in this, great, believe in that, but I want to do this on Friday. Do that, and if it's actually bad, accept the consequences of it, whatever, So, just live your life and, try and do as good as you can. Don't sit here and try and fucking justify it to me.
Well, don't try to justify it to God either. I mean, that's that.
Well, I guess that's between you and God. That's up to Him. So
So I mean, ultimately, on there, like I've known Jewish people. It's like, what's that you're eating? It's like, well, I put a whole bunch of bacon inside this shellfish, and I'm going to eat it. It's like because these rules about eating come from a stupid time, right? And yes, I understand that it made people sick and die. So God said, don't eat it.
Right, yeah, because it probably did back then.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. These are ocean bugs.
Yeah, they're disgusting. Very tasty though.
Fantastic. Think about their kind of like garbage food, but
unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, and if you've ever seen what these shellfish eat,
poop. They eat poop.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like you said,
in fact, it's got a little stripe of poop down the back that some people take out, and some people don't. So
yeah, so I mean, I've seen that component of it, and that's where again, I asked another Jewish friend of mine. I was like, "Can you tell me about the chicken?" And she's like, "What chicken?" It's like, I saw this thing where basically they cast their sins onto the chicken and then kill it. She's like, "No." It's like, yes, some of those idiots do that. It's like, you would not catch my family doing this, and that's the thing is I guess that's sort of the component of that is it's just like, all right, whatever version of that, again, maybe that's where you see it as hypocrisy. I don't know. I think it's just kind of like the arrogance of just thinking like God is stupid is like,
Oh, you mean, yeah,
like
he figured that out. Yeah,
he
exactly.
knows.
I don't know, man. Maybe he's cool with it. I don't know. Maybe he's got a good sense of humor. It's, you got me. Kind of thing, I have no idea, man. So,
I think he's made his constructions, like, very explicit in the past.
I don't know. So, I mean, you don't even know how much of the Bible you can actually believe. So, I mean, there's shit that happened like 200 years ago that we can't fucking agree on. Let alone 4,000 1,000 years ago. So, you know.
There's shit that happened in the past 3 months.
There's shit that happened last week that we can't agree on, man. So, you know, I mean, okay, so that's not really fair because you have to wait until, like, certain stuff comes out, you know, before you actually understand what's actually going on. So, you know.
There's 28% of Democrats don't think that Donald Trump was shot.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's bananas. So, yeah. But anyway,
I think that has to be a skewed number. I think that there's got to be some is like, nah, you didn't poll normal people.
If you're pulling people on the internet, they're not normal. So, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with a non-normally distributed population right off the bat, so.
All right. That's, you know what, that's cool.
Yeah, it's fine, man. So, but, you know, like, I mean, the historical veil's a real thing. So, especially once everybody who was alive during those things dies. Which is the best time to write a history, but the worst time to ask questions about it.
That's pretty good.
So,
all right. Well, I mean, by that token, is this like the best time to write about World War II?
No, they're not all quite dead yet.
They're almost all on the way out.
Oh yeah, pretty close, man. Because
there aren't that many.
No, because like the youngest ones fighting the war would probably be born like within the next 4 or 5 years, and they'd be hitting the centurion mark.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's a couple of them still out there, but all the ones that I knew are long gone. So, and I knew quite a few. So,
isn't that wild?
Yeah, but I mean, when I look at how young I was when I know them, it makes sense. So it was like, yeah, that was a long time ago. So, but the other thing about it is that, you know, World War II is it's there is probably no part of history that was better documented with multiple sources coming from many different angles, you know.
That's true.
Yeah, so like
especially in comparison to any other conflict before it.
I mean, you can basically take Hitler and figure out where he was every day of almost his entire life. So
that's a good point.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
and I mean, like Joseph Stalin, you can figure out where that guy was just about the entire time, what he was doing. I mean, he fucking wrote about it. So you know, all kinds of stuff, and so it's really well documented. It's really well preserved. You know, so like, you go back to the Civil War, we know where Abraham Lincoln was every single day. So, you know, you don't really know where George Washington was every single day. So, you start going back a little bit further after that. You want to take it all the way back to, you know, so you want to take it back 2,025 years. We know there was a guy named Jesus. So, he was written about in multiple languages in multiple different places. From multiple sources, so Jesus was real. So was he the Son of God? Did he rise after 3 days? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, everybody wrote about it, so maybe. I mean, you didn't have an iPhone back then, so you're not gonna take a fucking picture of it. You're not gonna you're not gonna do a live stream on Twitch.
Listen, Patrick, there are people that will look at paintings and pictures and stuff like that and say, time travelers have been there, and these are their iPhones.
These are their iPhones, right? Yeah, exactly. So, were they Incas, or they were Native Americans with iPhones, if I'm not mistaken?
According to that one picture in the post office, yes. But then again, that could be a mirror or a deck of cards or anything. Sort of like that laptop computer in classic Greek sculpture.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You know, I was watching this thing the other day. This is so good because it speaks exactly to what you're talking about here.
What?
So, was... This archaeologist, and so I like, there's a couple, I don't know, they're kind of podcasty, kind of like documentary and type things that, you know, follow a couple archaeologists around, and one of them's kind of a crackpot, and I found him on Joe Rogan years ago, and just kind of followed him, but then now I enjoy watching people try and, you know, poke holes in his shit, so which is hilarious. So, and there was this guy the other day, he made this point that was just great. He was actually speaking at I think it was Black Hills, so South Dakota, so like a community college there or something. And anyway, like he's walking into the community college and they've got this obelisk, okay, and it says Lewis and Clark on it. So, and Lewis and Clark was there a particular day. And he says, so, in 1,000 years, everything except for that obelisk is basically going to be sand. So, but we could find that obelisk out there. And if I didn't know anything about America, okay, at that point in time, because all the records had been lost, I would assume that Egyptians made it here. And they were ruled by Lewis and Clark. which in actuality, they were here for one day. And you guys built a monument outside of a school that had nothing to do with Egypt or Lewis and Clark. And it was like, okay. So, but I found this in Egypt, and so I found another one here.
No, you're absolutely right. Because if you think about the shit that they are going to find, right? After our civilization is wiped off.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to find that big fucking circle in Las Vegas.
Right, they're going to find the Apple building. Yeah,
they're going to be like, they fucking built, like, this pyramid is so much more sophisticated than the ones.
And they have little mini ones in every one of their homes.
That's correct, yeah.
It says a Roomba on it.
They're going to be like, this Las Vegas must have been the capital of the world because it has all of the world's monuments.
Right. They just make copies elsewhere.
Right. Because, it's like, they've conquered them all.
Right, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's like, what...
None of those structures would last.
Patrick, let me ask you this time. How many times, just in our lifetime, how many times has the prevailing thought about dinosaurs changed?
A lot. And we were kind of blessed as kids because dinosaurs were fucking cool.
At their coolest when we were kids.
Yeah, but this is before any movies. And everybody wanted to do the report on dinosaurs in fourth grade, kind of thing. So they went from basically being historically accurate in the 1938 version of King Kong to with the tail whipping around, and they used to use it as a weapon.
So they climb with
that shit and hang from trees from it. And stuff. So to your Jurassic Park dinosaurs, which is kind of a thing that won't die. All right. So it's funny. Because, if you actually dig in, I still get my geos. And so, you usually treat it as some dinosaur story at least once a year in there. And so, they've gone so far away from that, with, fully feathered fucking T-Rexes and shit that look terrifying. So,
sort of.
Oh, my God. There are some...
Oh,
my God. There are some renditions where it's like, that's a giant fucking chicken that's going to eat you in one bite.
Well, that's the thing. It's... The problem is that, to me, that stops being a dinosaur. It's a different monster entirely.
It kind of is. It's kind of like, like a dragon, or something.
Because there's an idea of the lizard that is particularly...
Right. Yeah. Well, and because when you were kids, you were like, ew, creepy, kind of thing. So...
Well, yeah, because the books would always go through the effort to say that. And the legacy of these monsters even live today. Alligators and crocodiles are descendants
turtles.
of this.
Yeah,
right,
reptiles are dinosaurs.
Right.
And then 5 years later, it's like, no, birds are dinosaurs. And they've kind of gone back and forth on that until they just say, well, actually, dinosaurs are dinosaurs. So, and we have some of them left with us still today, the ones who are able to fly away. So, but then, you sit right alongside, it was like, actually, we found crocodiles back then, too. It was like, so that's different. And then it was like, well, so, we forgot about the oceans. So, they had tuna back then.
Right.
And so, it's interesting how evolution stops.
And we've seen it so many. We used to have, we had a brontosaurus and a brachiosaurus and an apatosaurus.
Yep.
Then the brachiosaurus was no good, right?
Right.
Went back to brontosaurus.
I think his brontosaurus went to apatosaurus.
Apatosaurus?
Brachiosaurus has always been different, but now it's like Brachiosaurus and Ultrasaurus and Argentinosaurus because they keep finding bigger ones. So yeah, and the same thing with T-Rexes. They found a dozen different types of T-Rexes, some of which are horrifyingly huge. So yeah, and then same thing with. And then the movie jacked us up because velociraptors weren't 6 feet tall; they were about as tall as your dog. So
still a problem.
Well, yeah, especially if they can open doors, so they remember, So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean
That all
that's
changed, man. Yeah.
we saw all that stuff kind of change here. I mean that was kind of normal, right?
Yeah. Archaeology is different, though, man. It's like every conspiracy, like it's so politicized because everybody wants to predict the doom of Western civilization, and they want to draw parallels to Rome. I'm sorry, Rome was very different than the United States. They didn't have a constitution; it wasn't written down. They had lots of slavery,
Tons,
tons,
different varieties of it.
many different varieties of it. Yeah, you could be a very well-off slave, but you were still a slave.
Oh no, you could get like Fuji slaves and like Honeycrisp slaves and like
Granny Smith slaves. Yeah, you get a lot of Fuji slaves.
Cosmic Crisp.
Cosmic Crisp, yeah. So,
Yeah, it was kind of a big deal.
yeah, but and then the other thing is, well, Rome collapsed, and everybody was hitting each other with axes after that. It's like, no, it didn't. It didn't, man. So, I mean, go to Italy; it's still there.
Right.
So, I mean, there was never a point in time where everybody was like starving to death and, running off sand and gasoline-based economies there. Man.
That worked before. I mean, this is the
Right, yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is the all right. The best. So we've had some shitty things going on here in the country in just the past couple of weeks. Everything to do with weather, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, there's a guy out there. He's very generous. He's like, hey, I'm in eastern Kentucky. I'm not too far from you. So I don't have a ton of resources. But he's like, I got 84 acres out here. So anybody that needs a spot to stay permanently, temporarily, right? That kind of thing. So if your city gets wiped out by a hurricane, you go to essentially like axe living for a little bit because your city's gone, right? So it's not to say that the axe living didn't happen, but it's transitional until you establish a new way of life.
Yeah, we didn't abandon Maui. It was,
It's true.
And the same
That's
thing.
true.
I mean, you can go visit New Orleans. It's fine.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So, I mean,
Or
is there
fucking-
some...
Yeah, like Jersey. So, wasn't that more recent?
New Jersey?
Hurricane Sandy didn't wipe out Coney Island?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that like 10 years ago? Well, that was Obama era, wasn't it?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tail end.
That was the last big one that we had, except for this one. And see, that's the thing that's weird about this one, man, is it hit, like, the coast and it came into North Carolina and rained on a fucking place that, is, like, famous for floods. So, it's happened many, many times. So, and I mean, don't ask me how I know this. It has to do with fucking train games, and I don't want to get into that.
Fine.
So, but whatever. I want to deal with that section of Discord. So, we're going to talk about Islam. So tonight. But they, but yeah, and I mean, that's the thing about this isn't. Someone was explaining this the other day. It was like, you don't understand. Okay, so if you live in this part of the country, you're pretty fucking independent already. Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and so
Yeah.
I mean, nobody up there is panicking because they don't have, power. They're used to it.
It's happened.
It's happened.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's like now the fact that these floodwaters basically wiped out this town. That's fucking ass. So and it was like, yeah, that was not expected. And okay, so yeah, this is why I can't get toilet paper right now. Got it. Okay, that's fine. So
No, that makes perfect. It makes perfect sense why. Like you come. All right, so it's October, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is cooling down. We're probably going to get a snow sometime soon, right?
Thanksgiving.
Well,
I mean,
Thanksgiving,
Halloween.
there's no around here,
We got a little
right?
time.
But here's the thing: we've all driven in it. It's like,
okay.
all right, this is nasty. I'll go have the snow, but I'll put the chains on or whatever, right? But the thing is, I can understand why if ice freezes all over Houston, right?
Oh yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? In the same way that if a flood hit, I don't know, us, Because we're not used to it.
No, we're not used to that at all.
Right?
But if you live in the mountains, you kind of are.
Because there's floods.
Yeah, because there's floods. Yeah.
Yeah, so it does make sense that look, this is just the region that you live in, right? You prepare. It's not like the only source of wisdom is like one fucking like you got some dude who's like 83 and he's got like a gross eye, and it's like, let me tell you,
Cotton Eye Joe.
there has been a flood. The
Right.
spirits are angry, right? You know,
Right,
it's like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
they say when you take too many black rocks out of the ground, it will. Whatever, I don't know. Whatever his vengefulness is because he's seen it once before.
Right. Yeah.
Right. There was a lesson that the ancient ones learned. About this, and they returned the coal back to the ground where they got it, and lived as fucking savages or whatever. It's they went back to human sacrifice and eating hearts. It's like that's the way, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like go ask the old man in the mountain.
Right. Yeah, he's up there, man. So. Yeah. Just, like when he says no trespassing, he kind of means it.
He's like, what are you doing? He's like, listening to the water. So yeah, it's not like that. You fucking know it's like, well, if you look at these channels here, and you look at these rocks, and you look at the, kind of the way the terrain here is, the water comes down like this. We live here.
Right, yeah. This might be a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
The same thing goes, actually, places that are starting to get their shit together is like, it's happened to Florida so many times, they have that shit down to an art.
Well, there's another one coming towards Florida, and everybody's like, it's like, okay. And I mean, there's the whole thing. Oh my God, climate change. There's more hurricanes. No.
Well, there's not.
No, there's not.
Turns out there's not. Turns out that was bullshit.
It was complete bullshit. So you just happen to hit a spike of them for about 5 to 10 years there. But if you go back far enough in the record, you can find that happens all the time. So, and
I am. Yeah. Where are you now with like?
I've heard that too many times. I can't buy it no more. Anyway, what?
Yeah, where are you with the climate science right now?
So it is changing. So there's no way that you can actually look at the data and come to any other conclusion of the fact that, like heavy CO2 emissions across the face of the planet do change the climate. The Earth's been a lot warmer in the past. So, even when there was human existence, I mean, the changes. And I mean, 12,000 years ago, people didn't have the same tools that we have in order to mitigate. I mean, the other thing is that nobody really takes into consideration with climate change is global depopulation. So we're going to have fewer of us in 50 years, a lot fewer.
Right.
In some places like Europe's basically going to be a fucking, it's going to be like a tourist trap.
Quaint.
It's going to be quaint.
Yeah,
it's going to be absolutely quaint. And I mean, I've seen that happen, just in the last 5 years, maybe the last 10 years. I mean, I keep tabs on a bunch of my international students. They're trying to get here. So, legally. And that's because it's like, well, what kind of future do I have in England? It's like, everybody here's mopey and, angry and, I mean, it's basically a city surrounded by Alabama.
So don't let the accent fool you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a very, very rich city surrounded by a third world country.
Just because they sound sophisticated doesn't mean that they're not British rednecks.
No, there's a bunch of soccer hooligans. Yeah, and I know some of them. They're great people, but still, at the same point in time, it's one of those places you get a job, you're going to do that job for 10 years before you get a promotion out of it. And so, and people just aren't tolerating that. And so to tie that back to climate change, it means that if climate change happens, people are going to move to where the jobs are. So, and it's going to take 200 years. So take now and rewind 200 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not even a relevant comparison, man. So, and if we have any, semblance of the same technology, even if the technological pace is half what it was.
Yes.
Even if it was a quarter of what it was, all right? So technology will solve this problem. Is it electric cars? Maybe. I don't know. So is it nuclear power? Maybe. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Well, everything's a step toward what it will be.
If
we knew what it was, we would be doing it.
We would totally be doing it. Well, I mean, we have a lot of solutions. We just can't agree on one. Because certain people benefit from it in one way or another, and eventually the benefit will actually spread to enough people where they'll do it, and that's fine.
Yeah, I don't think spending like $13 trillion and uprooting everyone's way of life is probably the approach.
No, man, this is the I don't want to work people. So out there again, man, you know.
You have...
We got to tear down capitalism, man, because I don't want a boss. You know, I'd rather be assigned a job by the government.
You have utter contempt.
I fucking hate these people now, man. I see them everywhere. So, and they just infuriate me because it's like, wait a minute, okay, so it's not really about Black lives. It's about the fact that you don't want to get a job. Got it. So, you know, I can see this everywhere, man.
It's the family circus circuitous path to it, but yes.
It is. It's all over the house. It hops the fence like 6 fucking times. You know, it does a couple rings around. It throws a basketball at the hoop.
Yeah.
You know, but it comes back where, you know, Mama's Family Circus has a pie in the window. It's like, Billy, where's my pie? So, you know. So if you don't, nobody will get that reference, but if you do, it is perfect. Okay.
Billy says, but I came right here.
But I came right here, Mom. Yeah, so, you know, and then, like, yeah, it's just, I see it everywhere, and maybe I'm like, a little bit too quick to identify it now, and that might be a legit criticism, but at the same point in time, I see a lot of people who, if you take, you know, someone who thinks that way, and then all of a sudden they get a decent job, they stop thinking that way very quickly. Okay, regardless of what that job. Now, if someone loses a job, okay, then it becomes a grievance thing, and they start thinking that way again. And so it's like, okay, you know, I mean, the job market now is insanely good. So get off your fucking ass and go get one, you know, and start improving your life, man. Stop waiting for, you know, the fucking rain gods to shine on you, you know, with whether it be, you know, a green job, you know, food stamps, or, you know, fucking rent controlled housing, or walkable cities.
You're just gonna hit them all?
You're just gonna hit them all. You want high speed trains. You want, you know, the end of all fossil fuels, including natural gas. Black lives do matter.
Yeah, gays for Gaza, et cetera,
right?
et cetera,
yeah, Palestinian, free, you know, river, sea, whatever.
Right.
You know, and so
I noticed you guys aren't working.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of you guys aren't working, or you're working bullshit jobs.
Well,
so, you know, and I mean, there's a horrible book out there that was all about bullshit jobs a couple years ago. And, I mean, the guy who wrote, I read the book, he made some decent points about it, but he didn't come to the right recommendation on it. It was like, if you find yourself in a bullshit job, go get one that's not bullshit. It's not hard. So, you know?
Well, I mean, yes and no. Yes. All right.
It's hard to make the sacrifices that it would take for you to get there, but I promise you, it's like ripping a Band-Aid off, man. You're going to be better off doing it real fast, and then just, you know, like, doing what you got to do. In order to actually get to where you want to go. So,
all right. I will say this about bullshit jobs, okay? And, you know, I've cycled through this stuff, and I've looked at lots of things and different places. All right, so, number one, I guess this is the best thing that I can say about bullshit jobs, okay? The first and foremost thing that you have to do when it comes to whether a job is good, honest, bullshit, whatever it may be.
Uh-huh.
You have to look yourself in the mirror for just one fucking second, right? Get off your phone, okay?
Yeah, actually look in the mirror.
Okay? Yeah.
not the off screen on your phone.
Correct.
Yeah.
Get off your phone. Make sure nothing's playing, all right? Look at yourself in the mirror and actually answer honestly and say, what do I want out of job? And it is okay to say money.
That's fine, yes.
In fact, more opportunities will open up for you if
you say,
money is the only thing that you're looking for. Don't fucking get in that mirror and say, because I want to make a difference to my community, if you don't mean it. You say that to the waitress at TGI Fridays. You don't.
Yeah.
If you don't mean that, then don't say that shit, because that's the job that you're going for, and you're not going to be happy because that job pays dick.
Yeah, you're not going to make money.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Correct. If that's what you want, and that's not a bullshit job for you, because you're like, I am getting exactly what I want out of it. Mm-hmm. Cool. No problem.
Yeah.
But You have to be honest.
You have to be
I don't
honest.
think... honestly, dude, I think like 80% of people aren't honest about what they want from a job.
They're not, because they rarely take the time to actually sit down and think about it. You know, it's almost like finding a girlfriend or something like that. It's based upon instinct, you know, where
Right.
you don't actually sit down and do the math on it. And I mean, I try and counsel every last student that I talk to about this out of this mindset, because it's one of those things. It's like, so I get it, you know, and you want to save kittens for a living. That's great, okay? But you're going to need a shitload of capital in order to generate income so you can eat. So you can do that. So go bust ass as a salesperson for 5 years, then set up your kitten rescue after you've got a couple $100,000 saved up, and you can derive interest income off that, you know? There's no shame in that. You're going to save more kittens that way than if you do it for 5 years and then go bankrupt, you know? So...
Or if you want to save kittens now, okay,
Yeah.
accept the limitations that come with it. No, okay,
You're
you
going
wanna
to be
save
living
kittens?
with all those kittens, yes, exactly.
Well, either
yeah.
that, or it's like you're gonna get into veterinary school. Get it. It's like
Exactly. Do
There's
something
a
like that.
version of this.
Yeah,
It's like,
there's a
how
version
soon
of
do you
this
want to
that
get into
works.
it? I
Yeah.
guarantee you, if you go to vet school, you'll start saving kittens immediately.
Immediately, yeah. So, well, that's not what I mean. Well, and that's what I run into is people have this idyllic version of a job, you know. But I've never had a job that I took that turned out to be the way that I imagined it. Ever.
Not one.
Not a single
None.
one. And I've had 16. So now at this point in time,
I may
you're
have you
pretty
beat.
close.
I may
you
have
might
you
have
beat.
me beat now because you did rack up a couple extra ones the last couple of years. You scored some points on me in the fourth quarter.
I
buddy.
did. Well, but you're slowing down. I'm just getting started.
I am totally
It's
slowing
just
down,
like,
man.
Yeah.
I'm riding this plane all the way to
Yeah,
landing.
yeah.
So now, at this point in time, and any other job that I take on will be a hobby. You know, but yeah, the same thing's true. So, like, you know, it's never been exactly how you imagined. It rarely turns out. Sometimes it turns out better than you imagined, but then not always, you know. And so, you know, you have to go into something flexible like that, and that's why the pick 2 of 3 system is the best way to do it. So we have talked about that so many
it's
times.
the most general. I mean, I think it has the most truths of it.
It does.
I mean, you could get in there and you could get a professional to sit down for $75,000 and tweak it and say oh, okay, so you're gonna take this as okay, divide by Maslow and then.
Dude, I have done so many of those over the years. They're like, what kind of job are you going to take? They are all bullshit. So, and I will speak to that as a professional in this area. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this stuff, and it is garbage. And if you pay money for that, so you can just, you know, get online and figure it out in 5 seconds.
Generally speaking, the job. Okay, so we're gonna multiply because if you're an INTJ person,
Oh my gosh,
you
They're so bad, man.
know why? Because people answer the answers they want to answer.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like Myers-Briggs, I can speak on that in great detail.
Yeah, I know you can.
I don't want to. I don't want to. But the thing about it is that it comes down to that. Just look yourself in the mirror and say, what do I want to do? So, you know, and if what you want to do is sit on your ass, okay, then your goal is freedom, and in order to get freedom, you need money. So, you know, there you go. So, yeah, that should open up all kinds of opportunities for you right off the bat. You know, but usually it's like, ew, I'm not a good salesman. Ew, I don't want to work on Saturday. Ew, I don't want to drive 30 minutes to work. It's like, okay, fucker, sit there and starve. So, and get on Twitter and bitch about, fucking Palestine. Whatever.
Well, that's the thing is, then you take that externality and say, whose fault this is?
Jews.
The Jews. Which, again, that used to be a right-wing talking point.
Totally did, man. It's been co-opted. So it used to be so easy to pick out the skinheads in a crowd, man.
Yeah.
So now it's all confusing. It's like, wait a minute, you got really weird colored glasses. This is not normal.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. Like the actual skinheads see these guys show up in the club with
Wait, are we the
Free
bad guys?
Palestine.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So.
yeah, exactly. You guys need to understand. I don't like them, and I don't like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like your entire region. Y'all are a little bit dark for my taste.
Oh my gosh, it is so fun. There was a YouTube meme that I saw on that the other day where they was talking about actual racists and anti-racists actually green up 90% of the things.
It's ridiculous.
Dude, it had me in
It's
stitches,
yeah,
man. I was like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, this is
Yeah.
hilarious, man. So,
And it just ever since I had to transcribe Hillary Clinton saying like, "Wow, you made it all by yourself." It's and she's like,
I know.
Getting a bank loan is really hard for you guys sometimes. Yeah. I mean, oh man,
oh man, there's a reason why like I don't talk about it that often. I avoid those topics like the plague. So in most other contexts except for here and occasionally at the yacht club. So, but in all other contexts it's just like, no, I don't have any opinion on that because quite honestly, I know it's just, it's not necessarily performative, but it's also like, it's like, I can't give you a real answer on this, So, but the amount of patronization that takes place is just, most people are over it.
That's again. This is
they're just right. They're over it. My students don't even want to talk about that shit. So we get to the HR chapter and it's like, well, you guys want to talk about affirmative action? Like, no. So, and it's like, all right, so we got to talk about disparate impact because it's an actual thing, all right? But, at the same point in time, I'm not going to lecture you guys about it. I'm just going to teach you about the law. So kind of thing, because it's just, it's ridiculous.
The thing was, I had to show the chart. I had to show Marina the chart. She's like, what is this? I'm like, all right, so this is the chart about mentions of race in the media. Right?
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, okay, so take a look at this. Yeah. I'm just showing, I'm like, all right, let me share my screen with you. And I'm showing her this, and I'm showing these newspapers that do this, right? And I'm like, do you see this dip right here where it's done? She's like, yes. I'm like, this is Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
Okay? As soon as Occupy Wall Street ends, it ramps up by a factor of thousands. And I said, so let me ask you something.
Trayvon Martin, too.
Well, I said, like, let me ask you something. Do you think we as a nation just suddenly became super duper double racist at this point?
Yeah.
Like, no? Okay. Now, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy, but what I'm saying here is this right here got people's attention. Everybody has an opinion about racism. They're either like, that guy's racist and I'm not, or I'm not racist and he is. Right? Yeah. Because at the same time when the media is dying like this, how do we get attention? Well, this is super hotly contested. And again, if you go to any cross-section of America, I'm not talking about Germany because they're still racist. I'm not talking about Turkey or any other place like that. I'm talking about America is if there's like a football game going on, right? Mm-hmm. And one of your friends says, hey, this Sunday, do you mind if I bring over a friend? Like, no problem.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Say, but he's black, right? Your friends don't go, ew, right?
No, in fact, they look at you and they're like, what the fuck does that matter? Yeah,
exactly. Or they're going to say something that's like, neat.
What's wrong with you?
It's it's kind of like, there's not that version, there's not that knee-jerk, like, in my, there's like 10 houses in Colorado that are like that, where it's like, in my house?
You would be hard-pressed to actually find that. Even when we were kids, you'd see a little bit of it here and there.
The teensiest
bit. But those are the people who are all dead now.
Yes.
They're long gone.
Yes.
And there was no inclination about that as like, oh, well, okay, so he goes to his church and we go to ours, kind of thing. It was like, you can't invite that kid over. So, and the same thing's true, like they actually measure this every single fucking year, and there's like really good social science on this, where they survey people all across the country and then all across the world, and they ask them things like, would you mind if your kid brought somebody home who was a different race, religion, gender, in certain cases, and that line has went down in the United States until Trayvon Martin and that whole after Occupy Wall Street turned into the fucking shit show that it was inevitably going to be. So, Because no, man, we got like this co-op thing idea, and we're gonna arrive at this, in terms of like mutual agreement. I was like, okay,
you're gonna do fucking nothing.
You're gonna do fucking nothing. You're gonna starve in the middle of Central Park. Yeah, you're gonna do no such thing, sir, buddy. But then it just and it was like down. But now, like in the last 10 years, it's actually gone back up. It's still half of where it was when we were kids.
Correct.
So it went down. It was great, and then just like the last not even the last 10 years, but like the last 4 years, it's got a little tail spike on it, and I'm telling you, man, that line's going to start going back down again because people are just fucking sick of it, from all angles. I mean, you see like the numbers will come out this fall, and they'll be like, oh, what happened to the Hispanic vote? I'm like, you fucking happened to the Hispanic vote. You did this. Yes, you did this. So there you go.
And I know, here's the thing, is you will not be reflective enough to say that maybe we did this. You will say still that it is white nationalism. You will say this still, right?
Oh, they'll turn on their own. They'll turn on their own.
But the other thing is, you will not understand the fact that, unfortunately, guys, you have run Hitler's name into the ground. Nobody is afraid of being called this anymore.
No.
Nobody is afraid of being called a racist anymore because they're going to turn to their own guts and say, well, that's what you say.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
I know that I wouldn't chase out some dude for, dating my daughter, right? It's dude, we're the same people that had problems with, the two guys that had problems with, oh, my daughter's not going to date a black guy. These are the same dudes that, back then we'd be like, oh, well, I like her, but she's not Catholic. Right? Nobody
cares. Then see, that's exactly what they're going to do. So if you have a large showing of Hispanic voters for Trump, they'd be like, oh, it's those Catholics, kind of thing. I mean, but ultimately, just keep your eyes on the viewership numbers, man. They keep going down. So
look, racism has been a great ask anybody part of the BLM organization. Racism has been awesome for business, and people have cashed in on it.
It's been booming,
big time.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
but that grift comes to an end eventually.
And I would argue that sooner rather than later. And the same thing's true with a lot of just grievance politics. It's about to get.
People are so done with it.
They're so over it, man. We've gone through I can trace this back to probably Tea Party days. That's the first time where people really started in my life getting angry about politics. Because even Bill Clinton garnered some anger, but most of that was not necessarily based on monopolency. It was based upon the the peace dividend and cutting the military deeply back then, which he did.
Well, it's the Al Capone thing. If I can't get you on something real, I'd like to get you on something.
That's exactly what it was.
Yes.
And so, yes, it happened to deal with a cigar tube and an intern. So, sure.
Yeah.
But whatever. Okay. And the hypocrisy there, which was... That bird came home to roost later, though, man. So I can't say that I'm too upset about it. It took a while, but man, did it come home and it sat right on her head.
That whole thing, Pat, that we talked about, taking all of Hollywood out of the dryer and hanging up, not in the inside dryer, but actually putting it out on the line.
Putting it out in the line, yeah.
Right? That same thing goes for politics.
It does.
Right?
It does.
So, yeah, there's
but politics turns over a lot faster. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it does.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And, look, I understand. Look, this sounds stupid, but there's a lot of people who lament right now. They're like, boy, it's a real shame that all this is coming out because it's really taking a lot of the mystique and mysticism away from Hollywood and being rock stars and stuff.
Whoever says that needs to get a fucking job.
You think so? Huh?
Yeah.
So all of that involuntary sex and
is that what we call that now?
No, I think they say non-consensual.
Yeah, that sounds like rape. Yeah.
Yeah, all of that stuff, huh? It's like, oh, okay. And all of the money just going in the background and people being victimized but being paid enough never to talk about it so the problem never gets better.
Yeah.
All of those child stars who, isn't it odd that they've been fucking weird ever since Hollywood's been a thing? I wonder if the same kind of shit has been going on.
Of course it has. We know this. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
We know this. It's just well, that's my guy. I really like those like movies.
I like the mystique of it.
I like the mystique.
I like
well, that's just movie
the
Bob.
auteur
Yeah,
theory
he's out there talking about like his favorite.
Let artists
like,
be artists.
Latest thing. Yeah, he's like, I really like Quentin Tarantino. I do too, man. But if he's involved in Weinstein rapes, so yeah, fucking string him up too, man. So I can still watch his movies. So,
I can still watch Roman Polanski's movies.
You still watch
He's
Roman
a scumbag.
Polanski? He's a scumbag.
Absolute scumbag. As a matter of fact,
You should invite him to our party.
I gotta tell you, the one thing that does surprise me about some of these guys, like Polanski included, is I'm actually surprised that dude has managed to wander through France long enough.
Nobody just put a bag over it.
What do they call it in the military? A sack party?
Yeah, it's a sack party.
I am surprised that nobody has thrown a sack party for that guy.
Yeah, he just wound up, on the back of an airplane.
I am surprised at some dudes because like if you remember, like we talked about like the last remnants of like organized crime in this country, and I remember there was a truck driver that hit John Gotti's kid. Right?
I guess sack partied.
Well, here's the thing: is his son was at fault, right?
Oh,
he was a pedestrian.
Oh,
right. So he was in the wrong, but this truck driver still hit John Gotti's son.
Ugh.
His ass got disappeared.
Oh, that sucks.
Right? Because it was still like, well, you were in the right, my son was in the wrong, but I happen to be in a powerful position, so you got to disappear. And there's a lot of things people are like, I kind of miss that about Hollywood. It's like, dude, no.
No, you don't.
You miss that because you think that you would have been part of that if you were alive back then.
Yeah.
You would not.
No.
You would have been actually, no, you wouldn't have been even like a lunch pail worker. You would have been that dude wandering from like shit job to shit job, fucking complaining about like, oh, those
I couldn't get headshots around
just
here.
fucking pisses me off. Like you have to go to church to meet girls. It's just like whatever it is.
Oh man, that's a can of worms we could save for Wednesday.
Should we?
Yeah. That's a can of worms. That one popped all over my internet this week. So
the what are they calling it? The male problem? There's a term.
We'll get into that, man. Okay. Yeah. Right. So if we want to, who knows? Maybe there'll be another hurricane to talk about by then. So.
Well, like we said, there's one that's about to pass through Florida again, and the Floridians are like, well, I've seen it before.
Yeah, exactly. So
watch this movie.
It's like we hurricane you.
All right.
I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
Hitting the button.
All right.